But, but thankfully, it seems like we have saved the best for last in the form of
Yes.
Simpsons Halloween Special Treehouse of Horror Retrospective,
Yes. Yeah, we watched the 1 through 5.
which covers
Uh,
Simpsons seasons 2 through 6.
yes. And the of course the image that the DB has chosen is probably one of the best ones.
Yep.
Where's the doll's trying to kill me and the toaster's been laughing at me.
So I've mentioned recently that I just don't have whatever gene makes you appreciate horror. I
Mhm.
wonder if The Simpsons partially inoculated me from being able to find horror anything but either annoying or kind of funny.
Probably, yeah, yeah, because they spoof just about every horror genre and and popular horror movie you can think of.
Yeah, it is kind of funny watching these. How I always thought just watching them up when I got the DVD collections that they weren't that extreme, but if you watch them kind of all in a row like this, it's like, yeah, okay, I can see why back when The Simpsons was mostly watched by children or often watched by children, they felt the need to have Marge come out and tell people to put their kids to bed before they got horrified.
Right, yeah.
Because there's some stuff you wouldn't necessarily want the kiddos to watch.
Yeah, like the one with, like, when Mr. Burns rips Homer's brain out of his head and sticks
Yes.
it in a giant robot.
Yeah. Or when the fog turns them inside out
Oh, yeah.
and they're inside out and there's blood splattering everywhere.
Yeah, or the groundskeeper Willie keep getting an axe in the back. Like,
Yep.
oh, I'm bad at this.
So to avoid just sitting here spouting Simpsons quotes at each other and giggling helplessly,
Yeah.
uh, uh, which we could do honestly do for an hour. Like anybody who grew up on The Simpsons has those burned into his head so badly that I do have friends to this day where like I'd say a third of the things we say to each other are Simpsons quotes.
Yeah. Yeah, same here.
So Dane, what would you say are your like top two or three out of this selection we watched?
So top tier there. Okay, well, this one I would probably put in there where the cursed crusty doll. Uh, it does comes over that free Frogurt. Oh, that's good.
The Frogurt contains potassium benzoate.
That's bad.
Um,
Um,
Having watched the commentary for that, apparently, if you watch the Homer's lip sync in that bit, it's
yeah,
kind of weird looking. It doesn't actually match what the word's being said.
yeah.
When they said that whenever they have a joke like that and the animation goes kind of weird, you can kind of tell that they were having to buy time in the episode because it came up short.
Oh, yeah. Or having Kang and showing Kang and Kodos laughing, and the
Yeah,
laugh is just a little too long. Yeah,
yeah. That's them buying time.
yeah.
Because I've heard them talk about how these Treehouse of Horror episodes are very hard to time because you actually have to, you're not just making one episode, you're making three episodes.
Right. Yeah, and the three short episodes. Yeah, um, which means the stories are condensed down. I was trying to think of another one I relate. Probably the Shinning is another one I really liked.
A fine choice.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, Marge, I've been working on something.
yeah.
It goes all
No,
beer and
no,
no beer
no,
and no
no
TV
tea.
makes Homer something something.
Go crazy. Don't mind if I do. Yeah. Yeah, because whenever, like in my family, whenever we talked about if we talk about The Shining, we always said we call it The Shinning.
As well, you should.
Yes. And what's interesting is if you watch that episode and you watch The Shining, it's actually a pretty accurate spoof of the movie. Like they do a pretty good job of taking each sequence of events in the movie. Even
Yeah, matching the camera angles and
Oh yeah, and even the scene when like when Marge locks Homer in the pantry, which I mean that happens in the movie, and then the ghosts are talking to Homer. That happens in The Shining, where the ghosts are talking to Jack Nicholson. They're like, we're not sure you're entirely committed to this.
can't talk eating.
Yeah.
One thing that kept coming up, it happened at least twice, was Burns going to Smithers. Well, if I'm wrong, I owe you a Coke, or
Yes.
I owe you a Coke. Apparently, that's one of his catchphrases.
Yeah. He did that. Yeah, in The Shining, where he's like, well, if we come back and the family's been slaughtered, I owe you a Coke.
And then it was also like, oh, that body was alive when in the robot brain episode. I guess I owe you a Coke.
Yes. Well, the other one too with the Shining was that when Mr. Burns is showing them through the hotel, and he said, "This hotel is built on an Indian burial ground and was the site of satanic rituals and witch burnings and 5 John Denver Christmas specials."
John Denver.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your third?
Third one would probably be it's a toss up between the zombie one and then the gremlin on the bus.
Oh yeah. The Gremlin on the Bus was one of the earlier ones.
Yeah, and that was of course that's a spoof of the Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner where he's on the plane.
There's something on the wing.
There's something on the wing, and they actually redid that segment in the Twilight Zone movie with John Lithgow
Hmm.
uh, in the Shatner role. It was actually I'd say it was actually better than in the TV show one, but
Honestly, not surprising.
yeah. Um, but and then yeah, then the zombie one just has so many great lines in it. It's like
Flange the zombie.
wait, he was a zombie. What killed me was when Bart's doing the chants are all just names of stuff like it was game show hosts
Yeah.
and then department stores. Well, and then the last
Condom
one,
brands.
condoms. Yes.
Magnum Trojans.
Chic. And he's wearing the album cover from Michael Jackson's Thriller on his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear. So for my top three, I'm gonna have to agree with you on the Shinning.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna, just for the reasons said above. Um, I'm gonna go with. I might actually go with King Homer, the King Kong parody.
Oh yeah.
He's got a lot of great lines, like Mr. Burns, or not Mr. Burns, Mr. Smithers going, "Women and semen don't mix."
It's like when he eats Shirley Temple.
Yeah. On the good ship, lollipop.
Ah!
Yeah, that was full of great lines and just bits about it. It's a kind of a Mr. Burns tour de force because
Yeah.
and they pointed at. I remember listening to the commentary. That was always something that had bothered them about the movie in the last act. Like, what was the King Kong show actually? Were they going to like just sit there and watch him struggle in the chains for hours on end?
Yeah.
But their theory was that people were hoping that he would escape, and that was the show. Otherwise it would just be kind of dull.
Yeah.
Um, I forget who it was, but after Homer falls to the earth, is he dead? No, no, says Mr. Burns, but his career is.
Oh yeah.
Uh, After Al Jolson had one too many and climbed the Chrysler Building, he couldn't get arrested in this town.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it actually was Al Jolson, but just making up an old timey celebrity
Yeah,
to plug in.
yeah,
Um, and then for my third one, probably the time travel episode, just because that has um, uh, probably the on the strength of Homer going back in time over and over again and killing dinosaurs and bugs and causing the butterfly effect,
yeah,
and uh, the horrible future with Flanders as the techno overlord and
yeah,
cutting out people's brains,
yeah,
and the tragic near miss Homer has with the perfect life where
yeah,
Patty and Selma are dead, he's rich, the kids are well behaved, and the drain is donuts, but he gives it up because he asks for a donut and Marge doesn't know what word he's using.
yeah. Yeah, if he just stayed like 2 seconds longer.
Yep.
I, I still like the part when groundskeeper Willie gets the axe in the back from Maggie, and,
Yep.
takes her pacifier. That's James Earl Jones. This is truly a disturbing universe.
Yeah, I think from the commentary that they'd had him, it was a line that was left over after he'd recorded his lines from the first Treehouse of Horror,
Right.
because he was one of the aliens in that, and I was he no he was he the house?
Um, I don't know if he was the house, but he was the mover.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he was the
And
he might
oh,
have been the
and
house.
he
I can.
and he
Yeah.
narrated the Raven for them, which is also
Right.
a real contender.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will say anybody who's interested in writing, especially of a comedic bent, listen to the Simpsons commentary tracks if you can track down the DVDs.
Hmm.
Because one of the I actually struggled about whether to include the time travel episode on there because there is a line that just falls so flat for me, especially knowing what could have been.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that Michael X. Cohen was saying, I believe it was him, because of course on the commentary track you can't actually see the person talking. So,
Yeah.
but I think I know his voice after listening to a bunch of Simpsons and Futurama tracks.
Hmm.
Uh, he was talking about how you have to remember, it was either him or Matt Groening, actually, now I think about it. But that's irrelevant. Whoever said it,
Yeah.
he said, you have to remember that just because you get tired of a joke after you've heard it 50 times behind the scenes doesn't mean that the audience isn't going to enjoy it.
Right.
So, so there's a bit where Homer is going through time, and as he's falling through time, he says, I'm the first non Brazilian person to go back in time,
Yeah.
which that line means nothing to me. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
there was some time travel movie released at the time with a Brazilian star, I guess, that the joke was a reference to.
Oh. Hmm.
That's my best half remembrance of the explanation of it from the commentary track. Um, but the original line was, "I'm the first non-fictional person to go back in time,"
Yeah.
which isn't that a better line?
Yeah. I I think so too. Yeah. And then um it makes more sense because I mean, because and it's a little meta thing where Homer doesn't realize that he is actually fictional.
Right. It works on multiple layers. It's funny. It's generally applicable.
Yeah.
There was no reason to switch lines.
Yeah. And then of course he had Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Yep. Quiet you.
Quite a deal.
But yeah. So there were a couple of bits that kind of surprised me. At one point, Homer saying that Mr. Burns' hair looked queer, which like, whoa, okay. In the episode where Homer met the gay steelworker, at one point the guy describes himself as queer, and Homer says, "Hey, that's our word for making fun of you." And I had never thought that Homer had used that word that way in the history of the show, but I mean,
Okay.
I guess since the um, Treehouse of Horror episodes aren't exactly in continuity,
Right. Yeah.
but still, like I didn't think he had it in him, so shows what I knew.
Yeah. And well, we were talking about it before the show. I believe that line was cut out when it was in syndication.
which makes it really strange that it's on Disney Plus. Which, yeah, I did use my sister's Disney Plus account to watch these episodes because it would have been a hassle to go get my DVDs one at a time and track down which disc the episodes were on. And
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say something else. Oh, speaking of with not technically in continuity, but I thought it was interesting was in the cursed Krusty Doll episode, when Homer's taking a bath and he's singing "My baloney has a first name, it's Homer," and
yeah,
the Krusty Doll pops out of the water with a butcher and is chasing him with a butcher knife, and he's running through the house completely naked. And he
mhm,
runs by Marge, Patty, and Selma, and then Patty and Selma stop eating, and then Patty, who is the lesbian, says, "There goes the last lingering thread of my heterosexuality."
well, now we know what happened.
Yes, but I thought that was funny because that episode was before she came out of the closet.
Oh yeah, by a good 10 plus years.
Yeah, and then of course then there was another episode, the episode with the burlesque house. They're showing all the people walking out of the burlesque house, and Patty was one of the people walking out of the burlesque house.
Hmm.
Mm,
It's like they had a long-term plan with her.
yeah, indeed. But yeah,
I will also say, while I used it for the convenience, I cannot recommend the Disney Plus experience for The Simpsons because they did stupid things to chop it down to 16 by 9.
oh yeah, mine was in 4:3.
Are you
I think
watching on Disney Plus?
yeah. I think you can. I think there's like in the settings you can
Oh,
change it. But no, you're right about that. That was a big controversy when the show dropped on Disney Plus that they did that.
yeah, because if a joke was anywhere near the corner of the screen, goodbye joke.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the worst one was, the one when Homer and Barney do the tour of the Duff Brewery
Hmm.
with the pipe with all the
It's
beers
one
coming in.
pipe that goes into three. What was it, like raspberry Duff, Duff, and no Duff Dry, Duff, and Duff
Light.
Light.
Yeah, and they're all just coming from the same pipe, but if you watched it the way you were watching it, yeah, it got cut off.
Yeah,
So it just completely ruined that joke.
yeah. There were just a lot of shots that did not fit at all.
Yeah.
Um, like when they were doing in the one where they were doing the party to set up the events where it's a Halloween party and they're passing around everything.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like there were a bunch of shots that were kind of, where you could barely see who was supposed to be in frame.
Mm,
Um,
jeez.
you know, this is my kind of horror, the type you're
Yeah.
supposed to laugh at.
Yeah, it's goofy funny horror. Yeah. That's not necessarily scary. It's just yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Oh, one thing I noticed I hadn't ever seen in like the probably the 15 times I saw that episode in the Shinning
Hmm.
episode. Early on, they had Homer watching a little TV,
Yeah.
and they have the Tony Awards come on, and they start. There's a show tune starts playing in the background.
Yeah.
What I noticed this time was for the first time was that it was the first few bars of their song about the fog that turns you inside out from the end of the episode
Yeah. The chorus line.
parody. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, who's hosting the Tony Awards? Tyne Daly and I can't remember
Yeah,
the
I
other
didn't recognize the name, so
guy. I
and
recognize Tyne Daly, but I didn't recognize the other guy.
see, so that's where it's like the Brazilian thing is a reference that just doesn't make sense. Like I think it had to be arcane even at the time because I definitely didn't get it when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say that's another thing too with these old Simpsons episodes are the references are dated and no and anyone born after the year 2000 is probably not going to get any of them.
Yeah, the and what we were talking earlier about how tight these episodes had to be. Uh, One episode ends with it turning into a Charlie Brown Christmas,
Yeah,
and maybe it was just me, but that just seemed to come the heck out of nowhere because I think the whole sequence is about 15 seconds of animation when you think about it.
yeah, and it's almost like they didn't know how to end it.
Which, Not surprising. Anthology shows are always hard to frame, really.
Yeah, yeah,
It,
that's yeah,
how many times has Bob's Burgers done the thing where the three kids are telling a story?
yeah, yeah. That's why you kind of have to have like a wraparound um, story to kind of end it all, which they did with a few of these episodes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that was a great experience. That was a good suggestion.
yeah.
I'd kind of forgotten how much I love some of these.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, the classic Simpsons is hard to beat. You know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just do what Daniel did and fix your 16 by 9 problem if you're streaming it on Disney Plus.
exactly. Yeah. Well, I think we've talked these